What's up, guys? So recently I met with a sales rep from an internet company, and I realized that those companies are lying to their clients by claiming that they have 5G while they're actually selling 4G. Okay, let me explain. So if you're using a dual band router, you see that you get two networks. One will be written 2.4G and the other one will be written 5G. And usually the sales rep will tell you that that 5G is 5th generation. But actually that's just 5 gigahertz. That's just frequency. Okay, so today I'm going to explain what 5G actually is. So I'm going to start from 1G up to 5G for you to understand, and I'm going to be as less technical as I can be for everyone here to understand. And I've written few notes here so that I won't miss anything. So I'll be looking downwards to just look at my notes so that I won't skip anything. All right, let's get into the details. So the first generation, usually written as 1G, was introduced in the late 70s, but it was fully functional by the late 80s. And this one had a frequency of 30 kilohertz and a bandwidth of up to 2 kb per second. And it used the public switch telephone network, which is the PSTN. And this was an analog system, so it had limited security. And this first generation could only support voice calls. And it wasn't really reliable because sometimes your call will just drop while you are in the middle of a call. So this is all on the first generation. Now let's move on to the second generation. This is the GSM with a frequency of up to 1.8 gigahertz and a bandwidth from 14.4 to 64 kilobits per second. It also used the PSTN, that's the public switch telephone network, but this one now was a digital system. So it had more security and it was more reliable compared to the first generation. And under 2G, that's where SMS and MMS were introduced. And we also have other interim standards that bridge the gap between 2G and 3G, which were the 2.5G and the 2.75G. We're not going to go into more details on this two. Now moving on to 3G, which is the third generation. This is a more popular generation. So this one was introduced commercially around 2001, and it had a frequency from 1.6 to 2 gigahertz, and the bandwidth went up to 2 megabits per second. So the third generation was no longer PTSN, it was now packet network, and it enabled things like web browsing, emails, VoIP, and also the use of smartphones. And with the third generation, we had increased data transmission at very low costs compared to our previous two generations, which is 1G and 2G. Okay, and then now let's move on to our fourth generation. And I'm sure a lot of us are still using 4G or fourth generation. So our fourth generation now, the frequency ranges from 2 gigahertz to 8 gigahertz with a bandwidth of up to 1 gigabits per second. That's a very big bandwidth. And then now this is what we refer to now as the internet. And then this one has high speeds, high capacity, high quality with improved security at very low cost. So the key here was on improving the speed and also the security. So you see that from one generation to the other, there were some improvements, usually on the quality and the speed and security, because security is very important on communication. And then the maximum speed that you can get when you're using 4G, when you're stationary, it's about 1 gigabits per second. And when you're moving, you can get a speed of up to 100 megabits per second. Obviously, this also depends with your location and also your service providers. These are just averages. And the 4G also had interim standards before we went on to 5G, which were the 4.5G and 4.9G. So like I said before, most of internet users right now are using 4G, not 5G. Obviously, there are few gadgets that are using 5G now, and they're a little bit expensive compared to the gadgets that use 4G. And now we have our 5G with a frequency of up to 30 gigahertz and a bandwidth of about 1 gigabits per second and higher. And this one, the speed of 5G is about 35 times the speed of 4G. So you can see that there's a very big difference between the 4G and the 5G. So this one obviously will be having very fast data rates, high connection density, and better battery consumption. And with 5G, 4K streaming is very possible with little buffering issues, especially when you're on YouTube. Here on YouTube, you can watch a 4K video without any buffering issues. Obviously, it depends with your service provider and also your location. So just to sum up, for a network to be considered 5G, there are some set standards that it should meet. So those are some of the standards that we have talked about. So do not be fooled by all these internet companies that will be claiming that they have 5G while they are just selling 4G. And just as an extra, let me just mention that there are some companies that are already doing research on 6G, on ways to improve our 5G that we currently have. And if you have liked this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And if this was your first time coming to this channel, go down there and click on subscribe so that you'll see all our future videos. We'll be making a lot of videos weekly to help you understand technical stuff so that you won't fall victim of these greedy companies. Bye for now and see you on our next video. Ciao.